Nicolaus of Damascus was a Greek historian and philosopher who lived during the Augustan age of the Roman Empire. His name is derived from that of his birthplace, Damascus. He was born around 64 BC. He was an intimate friend of Herod the Great, whom he survived by a number of years. He was also the tutor of the children of Antony and Cleopatra, according to Sophronius. He went to Rome with Herod Archelaus. His output was vast, but is nearly all lost. His chief work was a universal history in 144 books. He also wrote an autobiography, a life of Augustus, a life of Herod, some philosophical works, and some tragedies and comedies. There is an article on him in the Sudda History. Towards the end of his life he composed a universal history in 144 books, although the Sudda mentions only 80 books, but references to books 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 96, 103, 104, 107, 108, 110, 114, 123 and 124 are known. Extensive fragments of the first 7 books are preserved in quotation in the Excerpta compiled at the order of Constantine Porphyrogenitus. These cover the history of the Assyrians, Medes, Greeks, Lydians, and Persians, and are important also for biblical history. Josephus probably used this work for his history of Herod because where Nicolaus stops, in the reign of Archelaus, the account of Josephus suddenly becomes more cursory. For portions dealing with Greek myth and Oriental history, he was dependent on other, now lost works, of variable quality, where he relied on CTEC as the value of his work is slim. Robert Drews has written, classical scholars are agreed that Nicolaus's history of the East, and especially his story of Cyrus, was taken from Stasius's Persica, a work written early in the 4th century BC. This work has with justification been denounced by both Assyriologists and classicists as a totally unreliable guide to Mesopotamian history. Life of Augustus. We have considerable remains of 2 works of his old age, a life of Augustus, and his own life. He wrote a life of Augustus, which seems to have been completed after the death of the emperor in AD 14, when Nicolaus was 78. 2 long chunks remain, the first concerning Octavius a youth, the second Caesar's assassination. Autobiography. He also wrote an autobiography, the date of which is uncertain. It mentions that he wanted to retire in 04 BC, but was persuaded to travel with Herod Archelaus to Rome. The fragments that remain deal mainly with Jewish history. Compendium on Aristotle. He composed commentaries on Aristotle. A compendium of excerpts from these is extant in a Syriac manuscript discovered in Cambridge in 1901. This dates later than 1400, was acquired by Cambridge in 1632, and is very tatty and disarranged. The majority of the manuscript is a work by Dionysius Barsalabai. The work was probably written in Rome, California, 01 AD, when he attracted criticism for being too involved in philosophy to court the wealthy and powerful. On plants. An Arabic text of his work De Plantis, once attributed to Aristotle, was discovered in Istanbul in 1923. It also exists in a Syriac manuscript at Cambridge. Other works. He composed some tragedies and comedies, which are now lost. The Embassy of an Indian King to Augustus. One of the most famous passages is his account of an embassy sent by an Indian king, named Pandyan or, according to others, Porus, to Augustus around AD 13. He met with the embassy at Antioch. The embassy was bearing a diplomatic letter in Greek, and one of its members was a Sramana who burnt himself alive in Athens to demonstrate his faith. The event made a sensation and was quoted by Strabo and Dio Cassius. A tomb was made to this Romana, still visible in the time of Plutarch, which bore the mention Zeta Alpha Rho Mu Alpha Nu Omicron Chi Eta Gamma Alpha Sigma Iota Nu Delta Omicron Sigma Alpha Pi Omicron Beta Alpha Rho Gamma Omicron Sigma Eta Sigma. To these accounts may be added that of Nicolaus Damascus. This writer states that at Antioch, near Daphne, he met with ambassadors from the Indians, who were sent to Augustus Caesar. It appeared from the letter that several persons were mentioned in it, but 3 only survived, whom he says he saw. The rest had died chiefly in consequence of the length of the journey. The letter was written in Greek upon a skin. The import of it was that Porus was the writer, that although he was sovereign of 600 kings, yet that he highly esteemed the friendship of Caesar, that he was willing to allow him a passage through his country, in whatever part he pleased, and to assist him in any undertaking that was just. 8 naked servants, with girdles round their waists, and fragrant with perfumes, presented the gifts which were brought. The presents were a Hermes born without arms, whom I have seen, large snakes, a serpent 10 cubits in length, a river tortoise of 3 cubits in length, and a partridge larger than a vulture. They were accompanied by the person, it is said, who burnt himself to death at Athens. This is the practice with persons in distress, who seek escape from existing calamities, and with others in prosperous circumstances, as was the case with this man. For as everything hitherto had succeeded with him, he thought it necessary to depart, lest some unexpected calamity should happen to him by continuing to live, with a smile. Therefore, naked, anointed, and with the girdle round his waist, he leaped upon the pyre. On his tomb was this inscription: Zarmanochegas, an Indian, a native of Bargosa, having immortalized himself according to the custom of his country, here lies. This account suggests that it may not have been impossible to encounter an Indian religious man in the Levant during the time of Jesus. The Jewish historian Josephus references the 4th book of Nicolaus, a history concerning Abram.